Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. Today we're back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 replay cast. Today should be a pretty interesting game here as we have a Terran versus Zerg on the map Frost. And as you can already see, the players are spawning horizontally, so this game has potential to be crazy, particularly when the first player spawning up in the top right hand side of the map is Psystorm's RuFF. So a very unorthodox Terran player who goes for all sorts of unique strategies, going up against a Grandmaster North American Zerg known as Cobalt. So it is two Grandmasters on the North American server going at it. It should be good games. I don't expect it to be exactly a normal game here, as RuFF generally plays more mech styles, which is definitely not common. And Cobalt, he's from North America, obviously, so really anything can happen, is what I'm trying to point out in this game. So far it seems like a standard barracks into gas for RuFF. Meanwhile, Cobalt getting up that hatchery, followed up by a fairly quick gas. Not going for any greedy play. RuFF actually moving out with an SCV scout here. So that's unfortunate for him, is that it's actually going to the bottom right-hand side of the map. Not going to see their spawn positions, so it's going to be a surprise for him. Meanwhile, Cobalt's Overlord is going to get him that confirmation of where the players are spawning. Now, depending on how that Overlord goes, it might actually give RuFF that confirmation. Is RuFF sending this SCV back? No, RuFF will eventually figure this out. It's just unfortunate that that SCV has to go that extra distance. RuFF is going for a Reaper here. He's going to be wanting to start an orbital soon. We'll see whether he follows it up with a CC or whether he's going to throw something else up right now. There we go, orbital on the way. Going to follow that up with a CC, standard Terran opening. This Reaper is going to try to get confirmation as to what Cobalt's doing, which for now is just speed. Mining that gas and then mining that gas with multiple workers, then pulling out, so it's just one. He wants to have a trickle of gas, maybe for one tech building later on, but this means he's not going to be going for some crazy Baneling all-in or anything like that. Well, most likely not anyway. So now both players know where they're spawning. RuFF scouted that bottom left-hand side. And now the Reaper for RuFF is going to move in and try to get some scouting. But as far as Zerg early game goes, there's not too much for the Terran player to figure out. Yeah, you can see whether they're making lots of drones or whether they're playing greedy, maybe a quick third hatchery. But generally, when you're a Terran who's moving in with the Reaper, you generally see the exact same thing pretty much every game. But you do it anyway because you want to be safe here. RuFF, good Reaper control. They're managing to weaken a lot of those Zerglings there and actually gets one of them. Obviously, one Zergling isn't the biggest thing in the world, but it's always nice. And those Lings do have to be careful not to fall. Meanwhile, that Reaper is, though, shooed away by those two Queens there. Two more Queens on the way for Cobalt, so we could be seeing this mass Queen defensive style that we see so often out of Zerg players. It's just really popular right now because it just defends all sorts of aggression. It defends Banshees, it defends 2/1/1s, which is marine drops, and really anything that the Zerg player needs to defend early game, unless it's something really surprising. Anyway, Cobalt going for his third base here, going for the more southern option, which Zergs generally do versus, well, in these spawning locations, they generally do that. It's not like you're going to take this base here. As a fourth base, it will likely be taken, but obviously not the third, as he doesn't want to be dropped, and this cliff is so abusable by the Terran player. For now, this is where we're seeing RuFF sort of change it up here. He's just going for a straight-up Hellbat Marine all, and it looks like gone for a reactor on his barracks, gone for a reactor on his factory here, and he's just making Marines and Hellbats, and he's, well, Hellions, and he's getting an armory, so presumably Hellbats. He's going to move across with these Hellions and Reaper, going to kill off this Ling, and now Cobalt's gonna see these Hellions. Hellions sort of shifted out of the meta when Legacy of the Void came into the play. Generally, when a Terrans used to go for Hellions maybe over 50% of their games, where now it's not so common. And generally when a Terran is going for Hellions in this sort of meta of Legacy of the Void, it's to try and get some damage done here, like poking off drones, going for a runby, maybe a drop, maybe a Hellbat all-in. And now we're seeing this Hellbat all-in coming from RuFF. Is he going to pull SCVs with this attack? He hasn't done that yet, but he's continuously rallying Marines and Hellions right now. There were some roaches on the way for Cobalt, so he is going to be prepared for this attack, but whether it's going to be adequate preparation here. Not many drones have gone down so far. RuFF does need to get damage done right now. Cobalt invested into early upgrades. He's just making queens right now. He doesn't actually have any army supply really right now, so he's just going to bleed off units right now. RuFF is rallying some units across the map. They're not into the fight right now, so this army could be picked off as it's by itself right now. 9 roaches on the way for Cobalt, though, and he hasn't taken too much damage. He's lost a drone or two. He's been forced to evacuate. All his drones have run into the main base. He lost queens, yes, but most of his drones are still alive, and he has his third base. Roaches are popping out. They are getting shredded by these Hellbats. They need to get pulled back. Pulls back a weakened one. Another one goes down, though. 2 more roaches coming down from the top. Gonna start working away on these Hellbats. Very effective versus these Hellbats at trading. Another Hellbat for RuFF harassing the mineral line of Cobalt. Cobalt hasn't lost too much. One Hellion coming in there and transforming, gets one shot off on the queen, then dies, but his Hellbat brother comes in and finishes it off there. These Marines are somehow still alive, and then natural, I guess Cobalt decided to focus on other things. For now, this one Hellbat, trying to make work happen, gonna start working away on that spine crawler. Now, RuFF didn't manage to kill Cobalt, which you generally want to do with an attack there. This is a ladder game, so I guess just pausing there. So Cobalt managed to hold off the attack, and now he's just sort of got to be prepared for what comes next. RuFF threw up a third CC. He's floating a lot of minerals, as he didn't really have much production with that attack going down. So now he's just throwing up many factories. He's going to be trying to spend all that bank he has right now. 2 Liberators come out for RuFF. He's using that reactored starport. He never made any medivacs, but now he's swapping it up into Liberators. Cobalt, though, being very smart. Maybe he's played against RuFF on the ladder before, but he's expecting some sort of follow-up transition like this. He's got a Spore Crawler in every base as soon as that attack was done. He doesn't have too many queens for AA right now, though, but there is the one Spore. RuFF's Liberator getting shoot away there. Gonna want to siege up, I believe. The other Liberator's occupied somewhere else. Somewhere else. Oh, there it is. Okay, coming in, harassing his base. The Spore Crawler out of position right now. RuFF coming around with the other Liberator, so he's going to start getting drones here. The Spore Crawler is coming in, though. Going to shoot this Liberator away. The Queen going to get some damage on it as well. For now, though, Cobalt losing drones here. He's got a healthy worker lead right now, but that's going down with every shot of this Liberator. The Spore going to burrow. But both of these Liberators are still alive. Meanwhile, RuFF is transitioning into full-on mech right now. Armory is researching +2 attack, so he's already got that +1, so his mech units will do a good amount of damage. Cobalt does have 1/1, but it is for roaches, so mech units generally do benefit from attack upgrades. Very well, this one Liberator sieging up, I guess trying to get that queen, but misplaced. That was a very odd position for a Liberator. Meanwhile, Lair on the way for Cobalt. He's just making roaches for now, which he sort of needs if he's going to hold off this follow-up attack by RuFF. Look at this. Widow Mines and Hellbats are going to be in this attack for RuFF. He's got a Liberator that's being attacked by the Spore Crawler. Roaches are going to start working on these Hellbats. Roaches outrange all these units right now. The mines are going to sort of jockey for position, but these roaches can always kite Hellbats right now. RuFF, though, bringing in a siege tank. Roaches definitely don't outrange that, so that's going to start to get to work on these roaches. Roaches walking into the Liberation Zone, getting shot by tanks there. Queen starting to join in the fight. Queen from the north, Queen from the west, really. Cobalt bringing everything he can, and these roaches try to get on top of the siege tanks, but all the Widow Mines go off, and I think this tank is going to go down. Not before killing all these roaches there. These roaches dive right on top of the tank. Tanks can't shoot a unit that close, obviously. And it seems that Cobalt has held this attack, and he's actually doing quite well here. He's macroing very well. He's got 2/2 on the way, so these roaches are going to have will have much better upgrades in the future. Roach speed on the way, as he never did get that. Another Spore Crawler on the way. I guess he doesn't want to deal. Look at this, these 2 spores. He definitely doesn't want to deal with any more harassment like that. Cobalt down on supply, though. He's down on army supply, and when you're making roaches, that's not what you want to be the case. And RuFF's investing to these like supply efficient mech units. These roaches are going to try and catch these Hellions, shoos them away, moves into the wall position so they can't get by. RuFF, though, seeing there's no 4th base at this location, going to be very happy there. But there actually is a 4th base going down in the further location for Cobalt. I guess he really doesn't want to deal with harassment from things like Liberators. 5 Ravagers on the way for Cobalt, so he's going to have this 2/2 Roach Ravager army coming up, adding in some Hydras, so he is going to have some decent anti-air right now. It's really all just going to come down to the fight he takes. He's got RuFF has some siege tanks. He has Hellbats, which is efficient if it gets into position versus this army. Trying to clean up creep and actually going to kill one roach with Hellions. Not often you see that. Okay, the roach does just barely survive. Right now it seems like Cobalt might be jumping the gun a bit, going for this attack. RuFF is very well defended in this situation right now. These 3 siege tanks, which are going to have +3 attack soon, by the way, making them terrifying. Another armory finishing up for RuFF, so he's going to have a very, very scary army right now. The 2-2 will help nullify that, but +3 siege tanks, +3 mech units in general just do so much damage. And there is a lot of siege tanks on the way for RuFF right now. RuFF is only on 3 bases, so well, actually, correction there, he's getting up a 4th base, so RuFF is in a good position right now. Cobalt does transfer to his 4th base, so he's going to have a good income as a result of that, and he's actually moving north to attack this planetary here. One brave roach dives in to absorb the Widow Mines, but there's more there. Ravagers are going to clean this up, possibly cancel the 4th base. RuFF actually has medivacs to carry these tanks. Not often that you see that with mech. He kills the CC, does Cobalt, but he's going to lose his entire army for it. RuFF up on the army supply right now, and Cobalt's going to have a very tough hold here if RuFF counterattacks. Look at these roaches trying to hold versus this onslaught of Hellbats. 11 Hydras on the way for Cobalt. Hydra's not very efficient versus mech. Hellions, Hellbats, siege tanks are just going to be... It's going to be a very tough hold for Cobalt if he wants to stay in this game right now. We have the Hydras, we have the roaches gathering up. He's trying to get out as much as he can. Both players actually have an insane worker count right now. 76 to 74. RuFF has so many SCVs. But he's not just in a good SCV position. He's ahead on army supply. Look at this, and these tanks aren't even bothering to siege. Well, they are now, so I think it's going to be impossible for Cobalt to clean this up. He has 1 Viper on the way. A Blinding Cloud could make a huge deal if it gets in between all of the siege tanks, but for now, he's just down so much on army supply. That 3rd base forced to evacuate. These drones are going to run to the 4th base. That's definitely oversaturated at this point. And it is a tough situation for Cobalt right now. Changelings charging in. They ain't going to get much done right there, and now the 3rd base for Cobalt is going to go down. He throws up a 4th base because in a situation you're like, if I survive, you're like, if I survive, I guess I want to be in a good situation. Hydra's being picked off by siege tanks, and the noose is tightening around Cobalt's neck right now. These tanks just picking off units here and there. The Vipers are gathering energy very quickly with their consume on this building, but Cobalt's going for a fight beforehand, and he's just bleeding off so much supply. Meanwhile, RuFF is a 60 supply right now. Cobalt, these Vipers are going to have to be absolute playmakers right now. He's going to have, I believe, 3 Blinding Clouds, so he's throwing down Blinding Clouds on the tanks. RuFF can reposition these with the siege tanks, but this army for Cobalt is choked up. This one queen is not doing him any favors, and by now all the Blinding Clouds are going to start to wear off, and he pulls back, and GG is called as RuFF takes the game. Very well played by RuFF there. Not exactly the longest, most crazy game, but well played by RuFF. I just saw the replay and figured I'd cast it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I shall see you next time.